Hey folks, this is Riker, and Diablo 4's future is at a crossroads. The game's been out for nearly 2 years now, and while it's had its ups and downs, one thing has been clear. Blizzard's still struggling to balance what they want the game to be, what casual players want it to be, and what the hardcore ARPG community expects from a Diablo title. We'll talk about that, we'll talk about the current state of the Season 8 test server, but we'll also cover other topics in gaming this week, including last Epoch's huge Season 2 update coming up, Path of Exile 2's next big patch, which is very unfortunately timed, and how Conan O'Brien wants to be in Diablo now, because why not? Now, if you want to stay up to date on Diablo 4 Season 8, I keep my video content categorized on my website, Riker.com, which brings us to a word from this video's sponsor. I built my website using Squarespace, and I was able to do everything myself, quickly and easily, and with zero education in the field, all thanks to how easy Squarespace is to work with. Squarespace even has a new AI tool called Design Intelligence, which combines 2 decades of industry-leading web design expertise with the latest AI tech to empower you to build a beautiful-looking, personalized website made exactly for your needs and your unique identity. Squarespace even has optimized SEO tools so that you can launch your website and start getting views as quickly as possible. Squarespace is flexible for any kind of website with tons of design options to pick from. You can easily connect all your social accounts and also upload your video content and organize your video library. You can sell products or services, and with Squarespace Payment, you have an easy way to manage your payments in one place. You're just a few clicks away from being able to receive payments through your website, all while offering customers popular payment methods like Apple Pay, ClearPay, Klarna, and ACH Direct Debit. Basically, if you want to build a website, I recommend Squarespace. So head to squarespace.com/Riker or click the link in the description to start your free trial and use code Riker to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. That's squarespace.com/RHYKKER and use code Riker. All right, starting with Diablo news. First off, Conan O'Brien apparently wants to be in Diablo. Yes, this is a thing. At SXSW, the South by Southwest conference, the late-night legend told Blizzard's president, Johanna Faries, that he'd like to be a demon or a necromancer, joking that his wife already thought he was one when they first met. Faries responded with, quote, "We'll get the writers on this." So who knows, maybe Diablo 5 will feature Conan the Barbarian, wielding his signature self-deprecating sarcasm as a weapon. Meanwhile, in Diablo 4, Season 8 is in public testing, and feedback is mixed. Season 7 made the game a much easier game. Drops were plentiful, progress was faster than ever, and that made a lot of casual players very happy. Season 8 reverses course, making the game more challenging again with slower progression, higher difficulty, and naturally a lot of these players who were happy with Season 7 are now complaining. There's also the issue with the philosophy of Torment IV, meant to be aspirational, where only 10% of players are meant to reach it, yet historically the devs have locked rewards and season journey steps behind Torment IV content. I personally feel that season journey stuff should not include aspirational content, because once you put something on a checklist of things to do, it no longer feels aspirational, it feels mandatory. It was the same thing with, Uber Lilith. You get that Uber Lilith little quest pop up, and now it feels like something that you ought to be able to do. As soon as they put in, early in the game, reach level 100 as part of the season journey, now it felt mandatory and not aspirational. So altogether, Diablo 4 seems to be trying to strike a balance between making casual players and blaster players happy, ultimately making neither camp truly happy. It seems like they're just trying to find the balance point where people in both camps don't get so unhappy that they leave. And honestly, designing around compromise is never ideal. My personal feedback on testing Season 8, I really like the 1 to 60 progression now. It's not too fast, item drops are not too plentiful. Yeah, by level like 30 or so, I was fully decked out in legendaries, and I continued to wear only legendaries until level 60, but legendaries weren't raining from the sky. I wasn't leaving gear on the ground, blues and yellows, I was picking everything up, but I also wasn't stopping every 2 minutes to go back to town to sell garbage. Now, I think they had stated that a design goal was that they wanted to make blues and yellows worthwhile during the leveling journey. I didn't experience that at all. I don't think I ever picked a blue over anything. And yes, I was looking at the stats. I was waiting, especially when I reached level 50, because in the 50 to 60 window, that's when new gear drops can be much more powerful than what you have. So I'm like, okay, I got this legendary weapon at like level 40 something. Maybe I'm going to get a blue weapon drop that's going to be better than my legendary weapon. But no, legendaries drop often enough that I never ran into a circumstance where I ever got a blue or a yellow that was worth swapping to. That said, this is not a complaint. This is just data. I don't really care for blues and yellows at this point to be things that I'm equipping. I'm just saying I don't think their goal is succeeding here. More and more, though, I'm starting to think, after just seeing the state of the community, how things have progressed over the years, seeing the feedback from different camps of players, I think just like how we have separate servers for softcore and hardcore players, I think we just need a separate server for blasters and non-blaster characters. I've noticed that some players who are either more casual or otherwise don't have a ton of time to put into the game, they get upset or offended when some of us suggest slowing down the pace of the game, slowing down progression, lowering loot drops. You know, they're saying that, oh, we're gatekeeping the game, that we don't want them to have fun, or we don't want them to be able to achieve the things that we achieve, and that's really not the case. I personally don't play nearly as much as most people assume. I am not a full-time streamer. I'm a video maker who also streams a bit. I mean, yeah, I play more than the guy who has only 3 hours a week to play, but I'm not putting in 8 hours a day of gaming every day. I'm not a competitive player. I don't care if other players are achieving more than I achieve. It doesn't bother me if someone who plays 3 hours a week can achieve all the same stuff I can achieve. I don't derive any sense of self-worth from what I achieve in a video game. I just want the game to be fun. So when I say I want the game to be slower, when I don't want items to be constantly raining from the sky, it's not because I'm trying to keep you down. It's not because I don't think you deserve to achieve what I achieve. It's not because I think you don't deserve to have fun. It's because I'm not having fun anymore, and I want to have fun. The game was one thing, and then it changed into something that was just significantly less fun for me. But that said, I also want you to have fun. I want all of us to have fun. And at this point, the only path forward that I see is a server split. The blaster server, where we have slower progression, and the non-blaster server, where drop rates and XP are like 10 times higher than the blaster server. It's clear we're never going to reach a middle ground that truly makes everyone happy, so let's stop compromising. Let's all have fun. No one's fun should come at the expense of someone else. No player is less worthy or less deserving. Now, back to PTR feedback. The boss powers. Right now, it doesn't feel worth it to collect these before endgame. Doing this seasonal activity is not efficient for leveling, and the pre-torment boss powers are generally weak. It didn't feel like it was worth it to go out of my way for them. The world boss powers, however, are great, so it is worth going out of your way to get those. Otherwise, though, it just feels like the seasonal activity is something that you ignore until you reach Torment and can start collecting the lair boss powers. All I know is I had fun with 1 to 60. I found 2 uniques throughout my journey, and both were exciting moments. I found the Ring of Sacrilegious Souls around level 30-ish, and I found Penitent Greaves around level 45, and the fact that I remember both of those incidents is a good sign. Now, as for post-60, I haven't put a ton of time into the leveling process post-60, the empowering process, the progression. I did get my way up to Torment 3, and my preliminary thoughts are positive. I think just the removal of the Season 7 activities removes a big source of the inundation of legendary items. So on a preliminary basis, I'm going to say I think things are looking good. Now, it's not all roses. The PTR has a lot of crashing issues, but hey, it's PTR. As long as it doesn't make it to the live server, it's not a big deal. There's some great quality of life changes on PTR. You can now instantly teleport to party members, just like in Diablo 3. Tempering remembers your last recipe, so that makes crafting smoother. Overall, though, I'm just really looking forward to the day that the devs are no longer reworking core aspects of the game and could instead just focus on building new content. And speaking of, an idea that I've seen proposed a few times in the past that I think could be cool. Imagine if, as part of building your character, you get to select one seasonal power specialization path. Like, you know, call it an ascendancy, call it whatever you want, but imagine you get to pick, for instance, one past season theme, right? Like, you can either get the robot pet from season 3, or the blood powers from season 2, or the witch powers from season 7. Like, this is a way you can bring all of this content that was previously made, bring it all to the core game, but without making our characters crazy overpowered by stacking all of the season themes, right? Where you have blood powers with the robot, with the witch powers, right? You only can pick one. Now, of course, they would have to rebalance all the past stuff if they were to do that, because some are obviously, they're not all created equal, let's say. But it would add an extra dimension to character builds, right? Maybe a Whirlwind Barb benefits most from the Season 8 boss powers, but a pen shot rogue would want the robot pet, for argument's sake. But I don't know, what do you folks think? Good idea, bad idea? Sound off in the comments. Now, we've also got an event coming up from March 18th through 25th. We're going to have the Mother's Blessing event coming back, and during this event, in addition to getting 35% more XP and 50% more gold, whenever you return your Grim Favors, you'll also receive an additional gift of the tree, which will include a collection of chaos. In other news, the date for the next BlizzCon has been announced, September 12th and 13th, 2026. That's right, BlizzCon is not dead. It is officially returning, but not this year, next year. It'll be at the Anaheim Convention Center as usual, but changing from the usual November date to mid-September, which is interesting. Also, no longer Friday-Saturday, but Saturday-Sunday, even more interesting. A lot of folks who attended the last BlizzCon, which was the first in years due to the pandemic, a lot of them felt it wasn't as good as some of the past BlizzCons, but for 2026, Blizzard promises to, quote, meaningfully elevate the experience. Now, what does this mean for Diablo? Well, I'm expecting an expansion 2 reveal this summer during the Xbox Games Show and BlizzCon 2026 reveal of expansion 3. And speaking of Blizzard's future, President Johanna Faries has been dropping hints that the company is looking beyond just games. In a recent interview with Windows Central's Jez Corden, she made it clear, quote, "The short answer is we're looking at everything, and I mean that very intentionally, and I can't share anything specific today. But we talked again as recently as yesterday that we have a strong collective belief that we are Blizzard Entertainment and not simply Blizzard Games or Blizzard Gaming." And while the 2016 Warcraft movie wasn't exactly a critical darling, it was a massive success in China, made a lot of money there. It was one of the highest grossing video game movies ever. So could we see a StarCraft series? Maybe a Diablo animated show? An Overwatch movie? Anything is possible. We know things were in the work in the past with Netflix before there was a falling out due to Activision accusing Netflix of poaching executives. But who knows what can be rebooted or invented from scratch at this point. For now, we wait. But what do you think, folks? Does a 2026 BlizzCon get you excited, or do you need to see some major Blizzard wins before you care again? And would you watch another Blizzard TV show or movie? Let me know in the comments. Next up, Last Epoch is coming in hot with Season 2, launching April 2nd. And as a reminder, it is a huge update. The devs have also been doing their press tour, revealing additional details, like idol crafting is now a thing. Woven Echoes are going to be these unique map-like encounters with new bosses, monsters, loot mechanics. The Woven faction is joining the endgame factions like the Forgotten Knights, giving players even more progression systems. Champion enemies are a new tier of elite enemy that drops loot with exclusive modifiers. Set shards are going to allow you to craft set bonuses onto rare or exalted items, completely changing how set items work in endgame builds, i.e. they may actually work now. There's over 25 new uniques, including some that redirect damage you take to your minions. There's the Sentinel rework. Forge guards can now dual wield a two-hander and a shield. Now you can respec your Mastery class for a gold fee, giving players way more flexibility in long-term builds. Crafting materials now fully auto pickup, no more manually transferring the shards from your inventory because it's 2025 and nobody likes busy work. We got the beta of WASD controls because this seems to be the direction that ARPGs are moving, even though I'm personally still a point-and-click kind of guy. And also the long-awaited console version is officially in the works, but it sounds like it's still very, very early production, no release date there. They'll also have Twitch drops running from April 2nd to 7th, which will let you grab 4 skill cosmetics and an exclusive title by watching your favorite streamer. There's also a support a creator program where subbing or gifting a sub to a streamer unlocks another cosmetic. The hype for this update has been through the roof in the community, and if you've been looking for an excuse to dive back in, this is definitely it. All right, let's talk about some Ori news, because yes, we actually have some, incidentally. The Ori series has officially sold over 15 million copies, proving that stunning visuals, tight platforming, and a tearjerker of a soundtrack are a winning combination. We learned about the milestone via studio head Thomas Mahler, who also shared that Moon Studios has now gone fully independent with No Rest for the Wicked. Negotiating this with their publisher is partially why they've been kind of quiet for a while. This was in the works for months. This week, they revealed the biggest update yet coming to No Rest for the Wicked. The Breach, which is launching April 30th, and when I say a big update, I mean they're doubling the size of the world. We're talking new story content, new enemies, new bosses, and entire new levels being added to existing zones. They're also bringing in new weapon archetypes like wands and gauntlets. They've also reworked the endgame Pestilence system. Pestilence can take over any zone in the endgame. Then by killing new enemies that spawn in there, they may drop a resource. You take that resource, you bring it to one of the campfires in the zone, and you can use that to juice the zone. It's going to increase the challenge as well as the reward. And once you've slain enough enemies in the zone, you'll then trigger a boss fight, defeat the boss, and you remove the infection from that zone. Other big changes include a better loot system that's going to scale with player level, masterwork weapons that eliminate RNG and crafting, and some much needed quality of life improvements like better item stacking, faster town project speeds, no more meal cooldowns in combat. Instead, you'll have a limited number of meals you can consume per fight, but you can upgrade that as you go. And for fans of Ori's music, composer Gareth Coker is back to work on No Rest for the Wicked soundtrack. Given how iconic the Ori OSTs were, that alone might be enough to sell people on the game now. They also noticed shields were underutilized, so they're reworking how shields work to make them more useful. Overall, build variety as well is going to be a lot better with this patch. And looking ahead, co-op is going to be the next big feature coming after the Breach. At first they were saying co-op would come before the Breach, but they really wanted that when they would add co-op, there'd be even more content for players to experience together. I know a lot of players have been holding off on jumping into No Rest for the Wicked or jumping back into it until the co-op. I also know others have been waiting for the full 1.0 release so they don't get burnt out on the game before, but with this update being as massive as it is, it might be worth revisiting right now. On to some Path of Exile 2 news. Grinding Gear Games has dropped a new teaser for their next big update titled Dawn of the Hunt, set to launch on April 4th at 12 p.m. PDT. This is the big 0.2.0 patch, and with it is coming the Huntress, undoubtedly, which has probably been the class that I'm most hyped to try out again. I got to try it at Gamescom a couple years back. You know, it's been 25 years since a game has delivered solid Javazon gameplay. Now, while PoE 2 fans are excited, there's a little frustration in the air because this update is landing just 2 days after Last Epoch's Season 2. Talk about bad timing here. It's really unfortunate because Season 2 is super important for Last Epoch, and they're the little guy compared to GGG, and now they gotta launch Season 2 in the shadow of a big PoE 2 update. And again, I really hope for the best for Last Epoch. And a lot of people are saying, hey, you know, this isn't going to stop me from playing Last Epoch. But something that's very important to both these companies is streamers and what games they're playing and promoting. And like it or not, streamers and content creators are going to be faced with a very difficult choice on how to divide their time here. I don't think Last Epoch Season 2 is going to be dead because of the PoE 2 update dropping 2 days after. But any amount of players taken away is not ideal. But back to the PoE 2 update. We know that it's going to have the Huntress. We know that's going to also mean new weapons. Some people are speculating that we might also get the Druid as well. I wouldn't get my hopes up. If it happens, hey, that's awesome. If it doesn't, at least you're not expecting it. There's also going to be tons of new support gems being added, giving more options to skills that were previously lacking them. And overall, just the fact that GGG has actually rebranded this update from 0.2.0 to give it a proper name, Dawn of the Hunt, suggests the kind of energy PoE generally brings to an entire expansion. That said, not all players are convinced. With no promised changes to endgame, a few players are feeling like they're just being asked to chase towers and tablets for another patch, but we should hold out for the actual reveal, not just the teaser that we got. The reveal is happening March 27th at 12 p.m. PDT. GGG seldom fails to impress. Now, on a lighter note, GGG dropped a new boss versus boss battle featuring Yesenia, the Praetor's consort, versus Draven, the Eternal Praetor. who, by the way, are husband and wife, in case you didn't catch that. Nothing quite says relationship goals like an all-out magical duel to the death. I always love watching these boss v boss fights. I won't spoil it for you, but the ending was quite fitting. Moving on to some co-op gaming news, Split Fiction has absolutely exploded onto the scene, selling 1 million copies in just 48 hours. In fact, within its first week, Split Fiction has sold 2 million copies. That's an impressive milestone for any game, but even more so for a niche genre that big publishers have mostly ignored. If you're unfamiliar, Split Fiction follows in the footsteps of It Takes Two and A Way Out, offering a fully co-op experience where you only need one copy of the game to play with a friend. That's 2 players on 2 different systems, needing only one of them to have purchased the game. And players are loving Split Fiction. The game is getting high praise for its fun and creative gameplay, with some even saying it's a potential Game of the Year contender. But what's even crazier is the impact this genre is having. 2018's A Way Out has passed 11 million sales, and 2021's It Takes Two has now sold over 23 million units, which is wild considering you only have to buy 1 copy per 2 players. That's near Elden Ring numbers in terms of reach, and it proves there's a massive demand for high-quality co-op games. And a big part of the success seems to be game director Joseph Fares. He somehow always keeps the gameplay fresh and engaging while delivering a product with no delays, no technical disasters, just consistently well-reviewed games. In interviews, he comes across as really passionate about video games, like he's a real gamer, and so he knows how to make gamers happy. Beyond that, these games have tapped into a completely underserved market. Couples where one person is a gamer and the other isn't. It Takes Two is pure magic for that dynamic, and Split Fiction is continuing the trend. It's accessible, it's fun, it's full of laugh-out-loud moments. Some players do seem to wish it was a bit more challenging, but let's be honest, do you really want a game to be responsible for ruining a perfectly good relationship? I actually love inviting friends over to play Overcooked as a co-op team and just watch them yell at each other as their restaurant goes up in flames. But what do you folks think? Should more studios jump on the co-op train? Or is this really just Hazelight's unique magic at work? Let me know in the comments. In some Grand Theft Auto news, Rockstar's free enhanced upgrade for GTA 5 on PC is now officially the worst user-reviewed GTA game on Steam ever. That's right, a game that has been breaking records for over a decade is now breaking new ground in disappointment. The enhanced version currently sits at a mixed rating with only 54% positive reviews, making it even worse than GTA 3 The Definitive Edition, which, for context, sits at a generous 66% positive. Meanwhile, the original GTA 5 on Steam, which had a very positive rating, has vanished from search results after being unlisted at Rockstar's request. So why the hate? Well, the enhanced upgrade does bring some nice perks like improved graphics, faster load times, and all the latest GTA Online content from next-gen consoles. The problem? Account migration. A huge chunk of negative reviews come from players struggling or outright failing to transfer their progress. Rockstar support has been, let's just say, less than helpful. Some players are completely locked out of migrating, others have had GTA Plus rewards bug out, and in at least one case, someone was told that they were eligible for a free car, only to have the game then charge them the full $2 million price tag instead, which is about 25 real-world dollars if you buy in-game cash. And of course, support there to resolve this issue has been about as fast as a parked car. That said, not everyone is up in arms. Some players are actually enjoying the upgrade, especially those focused on single-player mode. The lighting looks better, the port is running smoothly, and hey, it's free. But given the backlash, maybe Rockstar should have considered an enhanced and working edition instead of what they delivered. What do you folks think? Is this an overblown reaction, or did Rockstar drop the ball here? Let me know in the comments. And in some last but quick news, Titan Quest II is looking for closed beta testers ahead of its early access launch on Steam. You can apply to join the closed beta straight from the Steam store for this upcoming ARPG. And that's going to wrap up this video, folks, but do be sure to check out last week's video in which we talk about some unexpected changes coming to Diablo 4's monetization. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Patreon supporters for making these videos possible. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to join Riker's Raiders for more gaming content.